Dr. Caplan, welcome back to the program.
Hey, how are you?
Very, very good. Very pleased to have you with us. You are the Director of the Division of Medical Ethics at the Department of Population Health at New York University Langone Medical Center and the author of numerous books. And we've got a link to your website, pophealth.med.nyu.edu off on our homepage as well. And Dr. Caplan, and also for NBC News, this story, Grace is this young woman's name, 28 years old, Soong Yun Grace Lee, is dying in a Long Island hospital. Can you set up the story for us? Tell us what's going on.
So this is really a sad tale. Probably about a year ago, Grace Lee was a pretty active, vibrant woman getting ready for New York City Marathon. 28 years old, living independently. She had a seizure, went into the hospital out on Long Island, and they diagnosed a rare but really nasty brain tumor. It is eating away at the part of her brain known as the cerebellum. That controls basically bodily functions, bodily movement. For listeners trying to get a handle on this, think Stephen Hawking kind of fate for her.
It's basically paralyzed from the neck down?
Paralyzed from the neck down, not able to communicate with much more than eyebrows and movement and a little mouthing of words. Cognitively, however, still there. She's certainly not impaired in that part of her brain at all.
She's fully awake and aware. She just can't move anything.
Correct. And
go ahead.
So maybe, I don't know, September, maybe a month ago now, she had a bunch of serious seizures, had to go into the hospital. This seems to be the end game here because eventually this will cause her to die. All functions will shut down and she'll die. She's on a respirator now because she can't breathe on her own, and she's on a feeding tube. Mm-hmm. So she has parents, one of whom is a minister. I should add this is a Korean-American family, very close in their way. Mm-hmm. The dad is a fundamentalist Christian minister. The mom seemingly also very religious, and they've been coming in to visit her. She told the doctors, I don't want to live anymore. You're prolonging my dying with this machinery. I've had it. Let me die. Mm-hmm. The parents basically have said, you can't do that to their daughter, saying, this is suicide. We don't approve of you shutting off the machines. It's the work of Satan to have you do this, and really coming on very strongly with her to try and discourage her from doing anything that would cause her to turn off those machines.
So the question in my mind is, why does the church, or a church, this is a Protestant, a small Protestant church, mm-hmm. Why does a church have the right to tell you how and when to die? And then I suppose there's a second, ethical bundle wrapped up in this, which is that this is the way her father makes his living, is by telling people how to live their lives. And part of how he tells them to live their lives includes telling them how and when they can die. And so if he allows his daughter to have her own wishes, he will have diminished his own income. I mean, his own living. He will have gone against what he's, it's as if you were a Chevy salesman and you were driving a Lexus.
So I'll buy that, and I'll say this. Let's presume it's good faith. He believes that it is not allowable for someone to turn off their machines or say, I've had enough. Unfortunately, that puts him squarely at odds with law and ethics in America, which say an adult person, a 28-year-old woman, is absolutely free to decide to say, I've had it. I don't want any more chemotherapy. I don't want any blood transfusions, by the way, in the name of a Jehovah's Witness. Mm-hmm. Some people refuse things on religious grounds. I don't want any more ventilator. I want to be allowed to go. You have that right. No parent can override it. No one can override it. As long as you're competent and know what's going on and understand the consequences, then he, the minister, should not be in a position to do anything regarding his daughter's decision. On the other hand, because of the family dynamic and probably some cultural angle here, I'm sure she wants to please them and she's worried about leaving them upset And so this weekend, believe it or not, she announced she is not going to have the ventilator removed. So she has changed her mind. Her lawyer, or guardian, I should say, who is asked to represent her independently at the hospital, confirms that. So, just so listeners are clear, an adult person, your parents can't tell you what to do about much of anything, but certainly not your medical care. Can your parents come in and browbeat you and guilt you and almost coerce you into something? Well, they probably can, and that bothers me that that's going on here, because she was pretty clear about she wanted, and all of a sudden, I hate to use this term, but she's had a kind of deathbed conversion.
And her father, being a minister, is in the business of persuading people about their belief systems. I mean, I keep coming back to that. It's not that I view ministers as villains. In fact, I think that there's a certain nobility in for many people, in that kind of a calling. But at what point, does to take this out of the context of just the family? At what point does even if it wasn't her father telling her? I mean, what if it was just the church that her father represented telling her? Because my understanding, Dr. Arthur Caplan, is that her father is of the opinion, or has informed her, that if she turns off the ventilator, she will go to hell.
Correct.
And if she goes to hell, mom and dad are going to go to heaven, and they will not be together in the afterlife, and that's the big concern. Do I have that right?
Correct.
So, there's also an issue here of, religion controlling our human behavior in ways that actually increases human suffering, and I thought it was supposed to work the other way around.
Right. So my view is, when you have a dying daughter, I don't think you need to give her the straight to hell speech if you shut this thing off. I think you need to try and accommodate around what your dying daughter is bearing, the burden she has. And remember, turning off a machine, I don't care what a particular religious perspective might be, is not the same as a suicide.
Right.
A suicide is somebody who's going to kill themselves, who isn't going to die anyway, who isn't under any medical treatment. They're going to take some action to end their lives. And we could debate about whether that's right or wrong. But here's a woman who's saying, it's not that I want to die. I don't want to be like this, and I don't want this medical technology to prolong my dying, because that's where she's at. It's not like she's going to get better next week from this technology. It's stringing out her dying. So I think the parent, the dad, has it wrong. Whatever they think about suicide and what that means in the afterlife, I don't think they're describing this correctly.
And what would be the correct way to describe it?
I'm dying. The machines are extending my dying. Maybe I don't want to die, but I don't want to live like this, so I'd like my medical treatment stopped. If I die, so be it. If I don't, we'll have something else to think about. There's no guarantee if you pull the ventilator off, she's going to be dead in a second. So it might mean she's going to die sooner. I wouldn't deny that, and that's probably what she wants. But it does not mean that she is somehow saying, yes, I wish to end my own life. Please come and inject me like Dr. Kevorkian with an overdose or something.
So
what
this
she's saying is, I'm dying anyway.
Right. So this is in your mind, and legally, this is not a suicide.
Not at all.
Very, very interesting. What an ethical dilemma. Dr. Arthur Caplan, thank you so much for your perspective on this, sir.
Hey, my pleasure.
And what's the title of your most recent book?
So the most recent one is Smart Mice, Not So Smart People, which in this election season may have more traction than I thought it would.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Caplan. Great talking with you.